Hello, this is Michelle from happierrelationships.com, and we are here to talk about how to have happier relationships with a communications based approach. That is to say, we're not interested in a psychological approach, we're not looking at understanding why people communicate the way that they do. We're not looking at a spiritual based approach. We're not interested in looking within in any way. We are looking at your communications and how they affect other people. In general, if you want to have happier relationships, the bottom line has to do with value. People are generally satisfied with relationships to the extent that they feel valued within them. If you think about your own relationships, this will make a little bit more sense, probably. I'm sure that you feel very satisfied with relationships where you feel that the person values you. You feel that they care about you, they want to know what you think, they want to know what you're doing, they're interested in your life. And you may be a lot less satisfied with relationships where you don't feel very valued. Maybe this person doesn't ever return your calls, doesn't ever respond to an invitation, doesn't necessarily even answer you when you speak to them. So these are all ways that we can show whether we value someone or not. And these are all of these communication behaviors affect our relationships. When we talk about expressions of value, all of our communication messages convey something. They either convey that you value this person or that you have little to no value for this person. So in order to improve our relationships, of course, we want to focus on having communications that show that we value this person. There are two main channels of communication in all communications, not only here, but in all communications. And these are the verbal channel, which is the words that you actually use, and the nonverbal channel, which is your vocal tone, your facial expressions, gaze, eye contact, um, touch, space, the clothes that you wear, body movements and gestures, all of this and more. What time you arrive, all of these are areas of nonverbal communication. Researchers suggest that communication is as much as 93% nonverbal. Other researchers say it's as low as 65% nonverbal. I would argue that that depends in part, at least, on the context. If you're at a football game, it seems that your nonverbal communication is going to be a lot higher than if you're in a classroom, where you're going to rely much more heavily on the verbal channel for your communications. So research diverges on that, and I would argue that there's some context involved in that determination of exactly how much communication is nonverbal. We express value, express the extent to which we value other people, both while we're actively communicating and while we're listening. And we do this through both the verbal and the nonverbal channels. Let me explain that a little bit more. So, when we are actively speaking, like I am right now, I am putting messages into words and I am sending them to you. And I am actively communicating. I am conveying messages, and part of what I'm conveying is the extent to which I value you as a listener. We also convey expressions of value while we're listening through this would be primarily, certainly through our nonverbal channels, but it's important to recognize that communication happens all the time. It doesn't only happen when we're trying to communicate or when we're paying attention to communicating. It also happens when we're just listening or when we're just hanging out. And all of this has to do with sending a message of how much you value the person that you're having this relationship with. The results are a communication climate. And a communication climate is the social tone of a relationship. It is the general positive or negative condition of a relationship's communications. All relationships have a communication climate, and communication climates are different with different people. Relationships are sort of defined by their social tone in a way, so that if you think about this, this will make a little bit more sense to you. If you think about a couple of different relationships that you have, maybe you have someone who's very close to you that you love very dearly and you very much appreciate spending time with this person. Why? Is it because your communications are generally positive with this person? Is it because you feel comfortable and relaxed knowing that this person isn't going to say anything to make you feel bad? Think about your relationships with people that with a more negative communication climate. Is the opposite true? Do you feel constantly on guard when this person opens his or her mouth because you don't know what's coming and you don't know if it's going to be aimed at you or not? These are examples of a communication climate. That concludes our very first lesson on how to have happier relationships with a communications-based approach. I'm Dr. Michelle from happierrelationships.com, and I hope to see you there. Thank you for listening.